Good morning on a Wednesday. Got a new shirt. Charles found this in the return pile or something, and I like teal. Pretty stoked about my new Nike. I'm rolling out to the church, gonna go do my thing, and then I'll tell you a cool story. Days like today are really my favorite thing about Wenatchee, and I love my new shirt that Charles found inside the garage. One of my favorite colors and one of the favorite shirts I've had over the last couple years is teal. This thing fits me perfectly. It's Nike, it's dry fit, and I'm stoked. I'm headed in.
It's story time.
So in today's vlog, I'm going to tell you the story of how I met my wife, Ashley. I guess you could call it our love story. It all started when I was about 19 years old, maybe just approaching 20. I was struggling, like really struggling at this time in my life. I was using drugs on the weekends and smoking pot every day. I was lonely. I was really lonely. You know, I lived in an apartment. I lived in this townhouse. It's a really cool spot that my mom helped me get. And I was, I was, kind of getting my life on track after high school and stuff, because I had gone through these waves of screwing things up and stuff. And so I was living in this really great apartment. It was newly remodeled. It was a beautiful little spot, but it was also a place where my friends were coming over the weekends and we were doing stuff we shouldn't have been doing. And so at this time I was also playing in a men's football league. That's, I talked about that in yesterday's vlog. But the one day I don't know what it was. I mean, I don't even know what really triggered it or what was going on, but it was, I believe it was the night before I was headed off to a football game in a town called Moses Lake. I was in the shower, and at this time I had really long hair. I mean, I could pull my curly locks down to like below my chin. So I had really locky hair, kind of dready looking hair. And I remember being in the shower, and I don't know if you know this, but a lot of times, or if this ever happens to you, a lot of times when you're in the shower, it's like a really good time of quiet space and there's no distractions. So I'm crying out to God in the shower, and I start describing to God how lonely I am, which of course he knew this, right? But I'm praying to him, I'm telling him, I'm lonely. I want a woman in my life that I love, that's my girl, and so I start describing to God exactly what I'm looking for. I mean, I'm talking height, like specific to the height, the color of her hair, the color of her eyes, and I really just searched inside of my soul, and it wasn't like it was hard. I just shared my heart with God, exactly the type of woman, man. I was specific. Brown hair, blue eyes, short, sweet, kind. I really had a vision in mind of who this person would be and what they would even look like. I mean, I was as detailed as you could get. And I remember as I was talking to God about this, I promised him. I remember using the word specifically, God, I will treat her like a princess. Just bring her to me. Just bring her to me, and I will treat her so well. I will give her everything she could ever ask for. And man, it was. The next day, I go to this football game, and we won, right, Moses Lake. We won the game. It was a lot of fun. And a buddy of mine had recently come back from Tennessee. He was living down in Tennessee, and he had moved back up to Wenatchee, and we were having a party for him at Applebee's. Or at least they were kind of having a get together at Applebee's so that we could kind of welcome him home and do that whole thing. And I almost didn't go. But fortunately for me, a friend of mine who was also there, a friend of ours, mutual friend, said, "Hey man, I'm going to be there. You should definitely come. It's going to be awesome. Just come have a meal." And, because I was like on my way back into town from this out of town, football game. And so it was kind of like towards, it was late, maybe 7 o'clock at night, and I really just wanted to go home and rest, and I think I was probably just depressed, honestly. because around that time I was very depressed, and I ended up going. And get to Applebee's where the meetup is, where we're all having dinner. And I have this big old chew in my lip, right? Like, because I thought I was cool and wanted to chew tobacco for some stupid reason. And so I got this big old chew in my mouth, and I sit down at the table, and across from me is sitting somebody very important, very special. So maybe you guessed it. I sat across the table from my wife, Ashley. Brown hair, blue eyes, sweet, kind. She had a great smile. She was happy. And she was eating chicken wings. Messy chicken wings. I left that restaurant that day, and I remember telling her brother, he's a few years older than me, and again, Ashley at this time, she was only like 16 years old, right? And so I told him, I says, hey man, your sisters are beautiful. I met a couple of his sisters that night. I was really referring to who is now my wife, Ashley. And he kind of smiled, and that was it. A couple of days later, I was with my friend, and he said, hey, I think you should friend Ashley. You should friend her on MySpace at the time. And so I got home that day and jumped on my computer to go friend Ashley, and she had friended me. By the way, this mutual friend, the guy that came home from Tennessee, the guy that we were all celebrating when we went to Applebee's that night, it was Danny. And Danny is the one that had told me to go on MySpace and friend Ashley. And I didn't know at the time though that he had been with Ashley a couple days previous, was helping Ashley's brother move from one home to another, and had told her that, hey, Grant really has the hots for you. Because I'll tell you, that night when I met Ashley, and she went home with her family, and I went and hung out with my buddies in the parking lot nearby, and then we ended up going to a friend's house and trying to drink some beers. I couldn't even drink beers, honestly. I couldn't even have a fun time, because all I was thinking about was this new girl that I had met who met that description that I had detailed to God the night before. So that same brother of Ashley's, who I was at Applebee's that night that I met her, I had seen at the mall, like probably a week or two maybe after that I started hanging out with Ashley. I went up to him and I said, hey man, what's up, Scott? We were friends, we were actually going to the same Sunday school class, so we knew each other pretty well, or at least somewhat. And I said, look man, I said, I really like your sister Ashley, man. I really like her. And I can remember his words exactly were, she's really young, Grant. I know, Scott. I know. I really like her though, man. She's just great, And he goes, she's really young. She's really young. He didn't say no. He didn't say back off. Thank God, right? And so I really appreciate that. But anyway, the girl that I prayed for, right? The girl that I begged God for was on the other side of that day. Right, I met her the very next night. 24 hours later, I met the princess, right? I met my wife. And the reason I'm telling you this story, you guys, is because I want you to know that prayer works. It really works. God wants to know your desires at the most basic level. If you're lonely, he wants to know about it. He wants to know how to fill that need. He wants you to cry out to him and tell him how he can fill that need. He already knows. He already knows how he can fill that need. But he wants the glory too. And it wasn't until I finally submitted to God and said, God, this is the deepest desire of my heart. Please, God, help me. Help me. Bring her to me. Whoever she is, wherever she's at, bring her to me. Do it quickly. I'm desperate. I'm lonely. And because he wanted the glory, and he wanted me to tell this story to you today, he fulfilled that desire in my heart. You guys, God's real, and he's listening. He's not just...
A few moments later.
All right, so I'm just driving really slowly down this back road as I record this. My workday has come to an end. I'm headed home, and I just really hope that you could appreciate that story of how I met my wife, Ashley. It really was a God thing, man. It's pretty cool how that all worked out. And so super grateful for my wife. I can honestly tell you though, and in the story I told you how, I had promised to God that I would treat my wife like a princess and that I would give her everything that everything that she desired. And I can honestly tell you that I have failed on that promise. I have fallen so short in so many ways at so many different times in my life that it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. But I can tell you now that there's been multiple times in the struggles of my marriage with Ashley, there's been healing in it. And we're in probably the best place in our relationship today than we've ever been 8 years into this relationship. But that was all really kind of turned for the better at about 2 years ago when I confessed sin in my life, and not just to her but to others, and I have seen healing in that, and that's a whole nother story that I'll share. However, I'm doing my damnedest, and I will not stop until I'm the best husband out there. And that's one thing I'm committed to is improving every day. And I think if there's any one thing that I can boast about in my relationship with Ashley, especially in the last few years, is that I have made it my best effort to improve, with the help of Ashley being a diligent prayer warrior over my life. And that's a big part of why we are where we're at in our life and in our relationship, is because Ashley finally quit trying to change me and quit trying to make me into something different or to act different. And she just started praying for me. And so once again, the power of prayer is at work. That's it. That's basically it, you guys. I vow to my wife, Ashley, and I've done this with her, and I'll do it in front of the world and everybody who's watching this this vlog now or long into the future, that I am 100% committed to being 100% committed and loving her the way she deserves it. That's a message to my brother-in-law, Scott, and to my family and everybody else watching this, that I'm never gonna give up. I'm always gonna try to be the best that I can be. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you for watching this video. I hope that it had a lasting effect on your heart and on your day. Go love your spouse. Go give her or him a hug and tell them that you love them. And if there's sin in your life that is preventing you from having the relationship that God wants for you and that you deserve and that your spouse deserves, confess it.